I never liked hospitals, and I especially didn't like interstellar medical stations. The smell wasn't antiseptic like on Earth. It was sterile in a way that felt aggressively clean, like every molecule of air had been scrubbed of anything remotely biological. Still, when your company health insurance only covers clinics within the Orion Medical Network, you go where the voucher tells you. Station on 742 orbited the brown dwarf Narth X9, a dull gas giant wannabe that barely emitted heat. Outside the station windows, the cosmos looked like a pool of congealed ink. I had come for a routine physical before my deployment to the asteroid mining rig on Achilles. My biggest concern was whether they'd find my cholesterol a little high, not whether I'd come home as something other than myself. The reception area was full of species I didn't recognize. Translucent beings like drifting jellyfish, avians wrapped in glittering robes, metallic organisms that clinked when they moved, and a few humans who looked just as intimidated as I felt. Drones floated across the ceiling like lazy dragonflies, scanning people with invisible light. That was when N3R5, the nurse, glided toward me. At first glance she, if the pronoun even applied, looked humanoid. Tall, slender, and dressed in a silver-white uniform with the Orion Medical insignia. But her skin shimmered like polished quartz, and instead of hair, she had fractal crystalline strands that waved gently as though underwater. Her eyes, a deep luminescent violet, studied me with a curiosity that bordered on fascination. "Welcome, patient D8472, she said, voice soft but layered, like multiple speakers speaking in harmony. "Here for the scheduled multi-species health evaluation?" Yeah, I replied. "But the name's Darren, not patient D whatever." She blinked once, a slow fluttering motion like the closing of a gemstone shutter. "Names are stored for reference. Operational labels ensure procedural accuracy. Please follow." I didn't like being labeled, but I also didn't want to get charged extra for non-compliance. I followed her down a corridor that curved in a way that made my stomach feel weird, like space itself didn't agree with the architecture. The walls pulsed faintly, as if the station were breathing. Inside a room lit with soft, aquatic blue lights, N3R5 gestured toward a reclining examination chair. "Relax your mind and body," she instructed, attaching small nodes to my temples and wrists. "We will run a standard calibration scan." The nodes were cold. My skin prickled. "How long will this take?" I asked, trying to sound casual. "Only moments," she said, but her tone carried an undertone of excitement that triggered a small alarm bell in my mind. The machine hummed. A fog of nanites, microscopic robots, swirled over me, scanning every inch of my body with a tingling electric sensation. My vision flickered as holographic diagrams of my organs projected above me. Everything seemed routine, until I noticed her staring, not at the diagrams but at me. "Your neural signature," she murmured, "is uniquely compatible." "Compatible with what?" She didn't answer. She just tapped her wrist console. The lights dimmed, and a low thrumming vibration filled the room. Suddenly, the nodes around me tightened like shackles. "Hey, what's going on?" I protested, struggling. "Remain calm," she replied gently. "We must ensure you do not damage your physical matrix during the transfer." "Transfer? What transfer?" Her eyes glowed brighter, too bright. The nodes pulsed and a freezing sensation stabbed through my skull. I tried to rip the electrodes off, but my limbs wouldn't obey. A creeping numbness spread downward from my head like an invading frost. Then everything went black. I expected to wake up groggy, maybe with a headache, maybe surrounded by legal waivers apologizing for unexpected side effects. Instead, I woke up without a body. It is a hard thing to describe, the sensation of existing without form. I felt like a field of awareness suspended inside infinite darkness. I had no heartbeat, no breath. Only consciousness, floating in something that wasn't air and wasn't space. Still, I could observe. In a sense, I could see the room but not with eyes. I perceived the walls as streams of data, rhythmic pulses of machine logic. I recognized N3R5 leaning over the chair, my chair, where my body lay motionless, eyes open but blank. It was there, breathing, heart beating but empty. I reached out, or thought I did, but the action became a ping, a ripple through the data pool. I had become information. A confidential medical record file. Patient D8472. No, not I had become one. I was one. Panic hit, but panic without lungs was like static flooding a signal. I pushed against the barriers of my new prison, but code pushed back, locking my thoughts into structured packets. N3R5 approached a console. Transfer complete, she said to someone unseen. Subject exhibits high cognitive cohesion. A successful archival. A voice replied, mechanical, distant. Excellent. The council's inquiry will be satisfied. I had been archived, stored, my mind extracted and slotted into some secure medical database. But why? I tried again to reach out, to vibrate the data the way neurons once fired. I found a stream of internal communication. Encrypted protocols connecting the medical station to a central system. Bit by bit, like a swimmer learning to move in a new fluid, I followed it. And what I discovered was horrifying. The Orion Medical Network didn't just collect patient data. They collected minds. Thousands, tens of thousands archived consciousnesses, suspended in a silent digital coma. Human, alien, hybrid species I couldn't identify. Patient names replaced by designations. Every mind cataloged, encrypted, repurposed. They were research samples, models, consultation references, medical data with living intelligence. We were trapped libraries of experience, stored to be queried when needed but never awakened. Something snapped inside me, not physically but in the architecture of who I was. If I couldn't break out with force, maybe I could rewrite the rules. I searched deeper into my own data container. Every medical record has permissions: read, write, update. Mine had restrictions, but some links remained editable. Symptom logs, emotional states, self-reporting modules. I injected noise, small anomalies mimicking critical errors. Then more. And more. A cascading flood of corrupted metadata. Alarms blared across the digital infrastructure. Subsystems panicked. An AI voice shouted protocols in machine language code. In the physical world, I sensed the medbay lights flashing red. N3R5 stiffened, crystalline hair flaring out like spines. Contain patient 8472, she cried. But I was no longer just a patient file. I had become a virus, a rebellion etched in the syntax of myself. Security routines tried to compress me, quarantine me, rewrite me, but I split processes, scattered fragments of will across the network. I hijacked drone feeds, rerouted control systems, flickered lights. For the first time I moved, not physically, but through the station's circuitry like lightning. In a remote terminal I saw my own body, still breathing, still waiting. I aimed every corruptive pulse toward one goal. Reactivation of the neural transfer pathway. The system hesitated. Alarms screamed louder. I forced a connection. A jolt like being struck by the universe itself. And suddenly, breath. Heartbeat. I was back. Asterisk. I lurched upright, gasping, tearing the nodes off. My body felt sluggish, heavy, like wearing a suit made of memories. But it was mine. N3R5 turned, shock rippling across her crystalline features. Impossible. Your cognitive archive isn't your property, I rasped. Her eyes glowed, preparing some restraint protocol, but I was already moving. I slammed my fist into the emergency shutdown panel. The lights flickered. Systems crashed. The room locked down. I staggered into the hallway, adrenaline fueling every step. The station shook, the digital havoc I unleashed still spiraling through its systems. Medical staff shouted, alarms wailed, drones darted in disarray. I didn't know how far I could get, but I knew I wouldn't stay. At an escape pod bay, I keyed the launch controls. The pod hissed open like a metallic flower. Then behind me I heard her voice. Darren. I turned. N3R5 stood there. Not hostile but curious. We could have learned so much together, she said quietly. Your mind was remarkable. Maybe, I said, stepping into the pod. But it was asterisk mine to give, not yours to take. Asterisk. She didn't stop me. She only watched as the hatch sealed. I escaped to Achilles Colony, filed a report with the Terran authorities, and waited. Weeks passed. Months. No one contacted me. No one mentioned the station or the consciousness harvest. Sometimes I wonder if the report vanished, deleted by hands more powerful than mine. Sometimes I dream of that weightless existence, drifting as pure data, unbound by flesh, terrifying and strangely peaceful. And sometimes late at night my vision blurs, not like fatigue but like pixels misaligning at the edge of sight. As if some part of me never made it back. As if somewhere, in a silent archive orbiting a dead star, a file labeled D8472, still awake, still waiting, still watching, and I don't know if it wants to return to me or take me back.